everyone. So today I wanted to share what planners and journals I will be using for my 2026 notebook system. Since I have really grown to love a December start planner, I do like to have the rest of my system thought out as well, which is why this video will be coming to you in November. So personally, I need 3 things for 2026, and that is a personal planner, a work planner, and a place to track my reading. Since I have moved my daily journaling to doing that now digitally, just in a Word document, I don't really need to count it as a system, since I'm just going to keep doing or keep continuing with the same method, as it has really worked for me the past 2 years. So for my personal planner, what I really needed to track is just personal appointments and events, as well as tasks that I need to complete each week. While I do have a digital Google Calendar, I do like the aspect of having a paper planner. Plus, it allows me to make additional task lists and notes based on what's going on in my life at the moment, which I prefer to do that physically than having something like digital in my Apple iNotes. Plus, I also do like to have small planners, as it does help to reduce the time it takes to fill out, which is why for 2026, I will be once again using a Hobonichi Weeks like I have for the past few years now. However, for 2026, I'm going back to using a standard edition, unlike my 2025 or my 2025 edition, where I tried out using a Hobonichi Weeks Mega. I chose the black paper series since I first tried this out in 2024, and I really liked the cover, and I even was intending to use one for 2025, but made the switch. I personally really do like blacks and neutrals, but also they don't, I feel like, get as dirty compared to my previous Hobonichi Weeks. Plus, I think this will look really great with what is this? The black handwrite NOTT cover from Hobonichi. It's a zip cover that has a lot of different pockets, and you can slip the cover inside, and I know that this looks well. So that is something that I always consider when picking the color, is will it look well with this black cover, since especially in the beginning of the year I like to use it. However, I do also have just a new clear cover, since my current one has gotten really dirty and like little bits of residue, so thought I would get a new one for next year, especially since personally I found that I can have a clear cover on a standard weeks and still be able to slip it in to a zip cover really well. But if you're unfamiliar with the Hobonichi Weeks, it's a Japanese planner with cream tomoruru paper, which allows the planner to stay pretty thin, and it has a yearly, or no, this is the weekly. But it has a monthly, weekly, and note pages. The monthly calendar goes from December 2025 to March 2027. The weeklies go from the first week of December of 2025 all the way to the last week of 2026. And with the standard edition, there are 71 note pages in the back. I will plan a setup of this planner to, I think, release in December. Hopefully I can have time to actually set this up and film it with good lighting, since it's pretty gloomy right now. So we will see. It might be January, but it really just depends on how lucky I am with lighting. But if you want to see more details on the planner, I did film, I think, a haul where I went through it, my 2026 Hobonichi haul, but the setup will also go through it a lot more in depth. Then we move on to my work planner. So my work planner ultimately really just needs to track my meetings and a few key like project and notes, as well as just like a few big events. Plus, the most important thing is that it needs to be separate from my personal planner in order to just help create some work-life balance. I don't want to be looking through my personal planner or like personal tasks and see work tasks combined with that. And I'm going to keep using my current system for 2026, which is using a pocket leuchttrum with dot grid. Since I only started my current job in October, I'm able to fit both 2025 and 2026 in the same notebook, so I'll just keep using it. And the way I have it set up is all of my monthly calendars are all together. I do still need to work on actually like drawing everything out since it's really time consuming, but this is why I chose a dot grid, is because I can't even imagine having to do all of these lines without the grid to help guide me. But essentially this monthly is where I can put things like paydays, big meetings or events, or like maybe a coworker is out of the office that I'm like working with or something like that. It just big picture events. And then we have weeklies, where I have Monday to Friday since I don't work Saturdays or Sundays. And then this is the time is based on my personal work schedule, and usually it's a 7 to 4 p.m. is usually in the range of where I work. And the way I would fill this out is I would draw a little circle, write like a meeting name, and then draw a box for however like long it is, essentially using the time blocking method. And ultimately, this planner is mainly used for reference. I just get tasks way too quickly that there's sometimes not even time to write it down, or I don't have time to put it in the proper task manager, and it's also a lot of emails. Since I'm sort of in the project management PMO world. Plus, I do really love these leuchttrum notebooks as they're small, so it's really not that big or overwhelming to keep updated. And then there are maybe 20 or so pages at the end, which I will be using for big project notes to kind of remember, oh yeah, I was working on this project from here to here. This is why, this is kind of what happened. So it's less, it still feels like a planner to me, but it's less of your typical planner. But in order to draw the lines, I am using a fine liner just because sometimes drawing lines with, fountain pens can be a bit tricky, or just they're not always perfect. Like even here, you can sometimes see they sometimes, can skip, or they're, and with the amount that I would have to draw, I'm still working on finishing all the lines. I just knew it was not going to be successful. However, all of the headers are done with a fine pilot vanishing point, and all the writing I'm not showing since there's some sensitive information, but all the writing is just with the pilot vanishing point and extra fine. And lastly, to track all of my reading, I wanted something separate for my planner to track each book I read, since I'm really not a fan of digital tools like Goodreads, and I just like to track my data differently, especially since I read so much. I would not be able to fill it all in my planner, though I occasionally do like to add little bits here and there, but it's more just as I feel like it. And I do also have a fan fiction log and reading journal that I will just be continuing on. They're not specific to 2026, but I will be using these. So for 2026, I will be using a Pocket Leuchttrum 1917 blank notebook. And I've already like decorated it since I was just so excited to move eventually into this. For my reading log, I don't have anything to show, but essentially like it's just blank paper. And I will just be splitting it in two and just writing the title of the book, the author, date read, star rating, synopsis, and my review. And while I do read more books and fan fiction, I do still like to keep those two separate when I document them. So I'm just currently still using my 2025 standard insert reading log, but I am ready to move into this. I think it's going to be really cute, and I see myself really sticking to this maybe in like the future years. But if you're unfamiliar with the Leuchttrum notebooks, the pocket size is similar to A6, I believe. It's just a little bit slimmer this way. I think it's like that makes it an A6. And I love how these are hardcover, since I really do find that they withstand just life a lot better than their soft cover. I love the elastic closure that it comes with. You can even like move it like this. There's a lot of different ways. And it does come with these 2 string bookmarks. However, I really don't like them, so I will just rip this out. And I personally love how the paper, it's I believe 80 GSM, and it's sort of like a little bit cream, but it's not too cream. I find it very similar to the Tome River paper, where it's feels a little bit more like of a mix of like true cream and white paper. It's a really nice like in the middle for me. But the paper works really well with my fountain pens, in my opinion. I really want to be able to keep using these, so finding notebooks that work well with these is really important to me. And I personally find that it handles the paper well. However, due to your maybe like your climate or what ink you use or pen, that might not always be true. And I also really like ghosting, so that's also not an issue for me. But if I do end up making changes to my 2026 system, the best place to stay updated is my monthly videos in my notebooks that I release on YouTube, since that is usually where I will give you guys updates to changes. But I'm really hopeful that I will stick to the system this year, since I'm really looking forward to try to keep things simple for 2026, since I'm back to work again, and I just really want to be mindful of the time that I spend in my notebooks, to make sure my other hobbies, like reading, for example, just get time as well. But if you have any questions about my system, please just leave them as a comment below, so I can reply or film a clip in a future monthly video to address it. But I would really love to hear what you are all using next year, and if you have already decided like me. But thanks for watching.